Have you been looking at all have you been in the market for solar and batteries or just a battery recently? Or maybe at some point over the last year or so? If you have, it's important to consider that when you're looking at a battery, it's like shopping around for batteries. It's for home solar batteries. It's important to consider that you're not just looking at considering buying a battery. You're also you're also considering buying the long-term savings on electricity compared to just paying for electricity bills that can continue to go up by 30% each year. You see the difference? Because have you considered that in order to get the long-term savings that you can't it's it's not also just a battery. To get the long-term savings, it needs to be reliable equipment first of all, so reliable, reputable brands, and um, also the to make sure it's reliable for the long term. The quality of the insulation also needs to be to a high standard to make sure that it's not going to be affected by corrosion or water ingress or mechanical damage over time. So that requires a high standard of installation quality to avoid potential long-term issues with the reliability. And the other important factor for long-term reliability is the customer support that's available. Okay, so there are some companies. I mean, you'd be surprised that there are some companies in the market that have quite a lot of complaints that when the customer has an issue, they leave a one-star review of them stating that they've had this issue. They call them up the company and they're not even answering the phone. It's like, how can you run a business that way? I guess some companies are just structured around having their business model geared towards offering the cheapest price, like competing towards the bottom of barrel of the prices for the market, because there are consumers that are like that, uh, that like when they shop around, what their main primary goal is to try to get the cheapest deal, you know. But what they often don't consider is what the consequences of doing that could be. I mean, for example, if you ever bought anything on eBay or Gumtree or Facebook Marketplace, but it was quite cheap, but then it wasn't, you ended up having more issues compared to something that might have been brand new and like reliable from a reputable supplier. Um, because yeah, the same thing can happen with solar panels and batteries. There are companies out there that optimize on delivering a cheaper price, but in order to do that, they're cutting corners on the installation quality, often using subcontractors that are rushing to get the job. They're not getting paid that much, and they often cut back on the customer support staff to be able to offer cheaper prices. Sometimes they can be importing the equipment directly, which leaves them liable. If they go out of business, it means if they're importing the equipment directly, it means there's no more warranty, right? So there's a lot of factors at play, and solar is one of those things where the less you know, the more you think you know, uh, and that's just yeah, that can be lead to some um, negative consequences for people that just choose to get the cheapest system. We have a saying in our industry called that goes, a poor man pays twice," and another similar phrase is, "The cheapest doesn't always give the best results, and the best isn't always the cheapest." So at Solax, sorry, at DSW, uh, we focus on providing equipment that provide value for money, and we carefully select our brands for the equipment suppliers that we choose to work with in terms of panels and batteries. So when selecting equipment to install for your home, it's important to have certain selection criteria to make sure that it will be reliable for the long term, and that it will deliver. At least you can have a high amount of certainty that it will deliver better results for the long term. So those three criteria are: number one, length of time on the market and the track record. Because if a company has a good solid track record, it's been on the market for a long time with lots of satisfied customers, that means that you can have a clearer, higher level of certainty that you will also get good results for the long term if you chose to do business with that company, right? So that's number one. And in terms of the brands we supply, we have a range of options from budget to high-end premium options, and also in between. Okay. So again, the first selection criteria is length of time on the market. Second, what's the financial soundness of the company? If they're a private company, it's harder to verify that. So if they're publicly listed, though, then it's easier to verify how financially sound they are, and therefore how likely they are, how sustainable they are, and how likely they are to stay in business for the long term. So of the battery brands that we work with, we have Fox on as ESS is the budget end of the range, but we are actually the largest installer of Solax batteries, which are a middle of the range option. Secondarily, GoodWe batteries to a lesser extent, and then we also install more premium batteries like Sig Energy, Sungrow, and Tesla. Okay. Now, I will go into the differences between those, but in terms of selection criteria, it is that the length of time on the market. So Solax and GoodWe have been in, and Sungrow have been in business in Australia for over 10 years now. Okay. Whereas companies like Fox and Sig Energy, budget and a premium company, they have had less time on the market. So Fox have had home batteries installed since 2024, and Sig Energy was only founded in 2024. Okay. And so just get some notifications coming through. I'll just turn those off. So there's the financial soundness and the financial soundness, length of time on the market. They're the first two, and the third is the technical support that's available, the customer support that's available when there is an issue. So normally, if there's an issue with the hardware, you would contact the installation company directly, and then we would liaise with the manufacturer to resolve any issues. Okay. So with Solex, GoodWe, and Sig Energy, all of them have a high level or a good level of technical support that we're happy with. However, Solax, they offer local technical support in each state in Australia. Okay, so a technician is available from Solax to come on site in each state to fix any issues. Okay, whereas with GoodWe and Sungrow and other brands, they have office in a central office in Sydney. So not necessarily so Solax is unique in having technicians that can come on site to fix issues. Okay. So we regard Solax to provide the best technical support in that respect because of the local on the ground presence. Okay. So those are the three selection criteria. So again, number one, length, the track record, time on the market, and customer satisfaction records. So checking the reviews as well is important of the manufacturer as well as the installation company to ensure the satisfaction levels. So looking at not only the average ranking and the 5-star reviews, but also how many 1-star reviews there are and the severity of those 1-star reviews. Because on some review platforms, people can leave fake reviews that they're not able to be verified that they are legitimate companies, they are legitimate customers. So for example, Google Maps is one of those, whereas with review platforms like Trustpilot and SolarQuotes, those reviews are all from verifiable legitimate customers, so it screens out the fake reviews. Okay, so if you check us DSW out on SolarQuotes, we have over 260 reviews with an average ranking of 4.98 stars at the time of publishing this video. Okay, so we are actually in the top, ranked number 3 out of all companies listed on Solar Quotes. So we have legendary status, and we're in the top 3 in the legendary status rankings. Okay, so that together with our longevity, and we also have multi awards from SunWiz and the Smart Energy Council for you know a high ranking in the top 20 solar companies, being in the top 20 solar companies in Australia. Okay, so for those reasons, you can have a higher level of certainty that you can get good results for the long term with good quality installation, long-term ongoing customer support, and long-term savings as a consequence with choosing to get a solar and battery system from us. So I hope you found this video to be helpful, and if you do have any further questions, feel free to leave a comment, and you can reach out to me on Messenger. Yeah, and I'll get back to you when I can. Or you can contact DSW directly and ask to speak to me. Okay. Thanks for watching.